All right, let's upload this image of a cat and then write replace the apple with the cat. Very nice. Notice it even changes the white balance of the cat to match the background. Or let's say we have this photo of a woman and a man. For the prompt, we can write let the man and the woman kiss and hug, and here's what we get. Or let's say we have this reference photo of a character. Let's get her to be in a cozy cafe sitting in front of a laptop. And here is what we get. Notice that it preserves the overall appearance of this character. Or let's say we have this bird and a photo of this room. Well, we can add the bird on the desk like this. Or we can get this person to hold this toy in a parking lot like this. Or let's say we have this woman here and another woman in headphones at this restaurant. Well, we can replace her with the woman in the first image, and here's what we get. Or finally, let's say we have this woman here and then this background image. We can place her in this background and make her pray. You can also do multiple rounds of editing. So for example, let's say we have this initial image. We can change the background to a park like this, and then we can remove the ducks. We can get her to cross her arms, and then also change this to Ghibli style. Next, we can add a hat, and then we can replace her bow with a scarf, and then we can change the scarf to pink. All of these edits are done just with a text prompt. So this is a super powerful and easy to use tool. This is called Omnigen 2, and it's one of the best free and open source image editors you can use right now. Note that I also featured Omnigen 1 when it first came out a few months ago. This was the earliest AI that could do semantic image editing. In other words, you can edit images just by prompting it. Well, recently they released version 2, which is even better. So in this video, I'm going to go over all the neat things that it can do. Plus, I'll show you how to install this locally so you can run it for free and unlimited times offline. Here's what the interface looks like, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I'll go over all these settings in a second, and don't worry, I'm also going to go over how you can install this in the latter half of the video. But first, let's start by generating some samples. So first, I'm going to upload this black and white family photo, and for the prompt, I'm just going to write colorize this. Let's click generate and see what we get. And here is our result. How cool is that? It's pretty good at colorizing black and white photos, even though this scene is quite complicated with a lot of people and a complex background. But it was able to colorize everything pretty well. Alright, let me click on this button to download it, and what I'm going to do is drag and drop it onto here to use as the new reference image. And then this time, I'm going to write turn into Ghibli style. Let's click generate. And here is our result. So, forget about GPT-4o, which is closed source, and you do need to pay if you use it a lot. They only offer a limited free plan. But instead, you can just use Omnigen 2 for free and unlimited times offline. And it can do the same thing. Now, instead of Ghibli style, let's try 3D Disney Pixar style. Let's click generate and see what that gives us. And here is what we get. So as you can see, it's also able to turn any image into this 3D Disney Pixar style. Very impressive. Next, let's test its ability to combine two reference images together. So for the first image, I'm going to upload this bedroom. And then for the second image, I'm going to upload this pug plushie. And then notice that for the guidelines at the top here, you can refer to the image by typing in first image or second image. So for the prompt, let's write add the plushie in the second image on the bed of the first image. Let's click generate and see what that gives us. And it pulled it off. It indeed added this pug plushie on top of this bed while keeping all the details from both photos consistent. I guess there is a minor flaw with the scale of things, so it seems like the pug plushie shouldn't be this big. But I can always prompt it further to make the plushie smaller. Alright, next let's try to swap the background of a photo. So I'm going to upload this image of a woman in a city, and for the prompt, let's write it is snowing. Let's see what that gives us. And here's the result. Super impressive. It really does look like it's snowing in the scene, like even the road and the cars are covered with snow. Now instead of snow, let's try this. Turn the background into a beach sunset. Let's see what that gives us. And here's our result. Not too bad. It even knows to kind of change the white balance of the subject to match the sunset background. So as you can see with this tool now, it's incredibly easy to swap a background. Whereas before in Photoshop, you need to manually mask out the subject, and there's going to be areas that are extremely hard to mask out, such as her hair. But with Omnigen, you don't need to do any of this. You can edit the image in seconds with just a text prompt. So it's a super powerful tool. Anyways, next I'm going to upload this line art drawing of an anime girl. Let's see if it can color this. So for the prompt, I'm going to write color this. Make her hair light blue and her dress pink and white. Let's click generate. And here is our result. It indeed makes her hair light blue and her dress pink and white. And for the most part, it does retain most of the details from the original line art reference image. Now I'm going to download this and then upload it back over here. And then for the second image, I'm going to upload this dude. And then for the prompt, I'm going to write the girl in the first image is kissing the guy in the second image. They are in a park. Let's click generate and see what that gives us. Very nice. Indeed, the two characters are kissing in a park. And it was able to maintain the appearance of both characters, even though their outfits are quite complicated. Alright, next I want to see if it can also replace and edit existing text in an image. So I'm going to upload this image with the text AI search conference in the background. And for the prompt, I'm going to write change the text AI search conference to meetup. Let's see what we get. And here is our result. Notice that it's able to edit the text while maintaining the original style and font of the text. Very nice. Next, I also want to test how good it is at preserving the look and details of a reference character. So I'm going to upload this anime girl with quite a complex design. And for the prompt, I'm going to write she is riding a motorcycle. And here is what we get. Notice that even though the design of her outfit is pretty complicated, it was able to preserve all the details in the generation. So as you can see with this tool, it's now incredibly easy to generate any photo of a reference character doing anything. So hopefully this gives you a sense of all the neat things that it can do. This is basically very similar to GPT-4o's image generator as well as Google's Gemini image generator, but this is free and open source. Next, let's go over where you can use this. So on their official GitHub repo, if you click on online demos, they've actually released a ton of Hugging Face spaces where you can use this online for free. So just click on any one of these and you should be able to access this interface online and edit a few images per day for free. Now, in addition to using this online, you can also download it and run it offline for unlimited times, which is what I'm going to show you right now. Notice that this is super efficient and you can run this with even lower than 3 gigabytes of VRAM if you use this CPU offload setting. However, note that it's going to be extremely slow if you use CPU. To run this at decent speeds, they do recommend that you have a GPU of 17 gigabytes of VRAM or more. Anyways, let's go over how to install this right now. So if I scroll up a bit, here we have this quick start section with all the instructions. The first step is to git clone this repository. Now, in order to do that, you do need to have git installed on your computer. If you don't, here's how to install it. If you already have git installed, feel free to skip to the next section. All we got to do is download the latest release for whatever operating system you're using. So I'm using Windows, so I'm just going to click on download for Windows. I'm running 64-bit, so I'm going to click on this to download, and it's now downloading this exe file. So once that's completed, all we got to do is open that exe file and then follow the steps. So I'm going to click on next. I'm just going to go with the default install location, which is program files/git. So I'll click next for that. And then I'm just going to leave this at the default. And then I'm going to click next again and click next here. We're just going to use the default settings for all of these. There's a lot of settings that you need to go through, so I'm just going to click next for all of these. All right, and then it should go ahead and install all the files, so this might take a few minutes. Perfect, so now we have Git installed. Alright, so assuming you do have Git installed on your computer, first you would navigate to where on your computer you want to install this. So let's say I want to install this on my desktop. I would open up my desktop and then at the top bar here, let's type in CMD to open this up in command prompt. Now the first step is we need to git clone this repository. So I'm going to click on this code button and then copy this link to my clipboard. And then back in my command prompt, I'm going to write git clone and then paste the link in here. So that's basically going to clone all the files and folders you see here into a folder on my desktop. Alright, so afterwards, if we open up my desktop, you can see here we have our Omnigen folder. And if we open that, this has all the files and folders that you see over here. Alright, the next step is we need to change our directory to this Omnigen 2 folder, because right now we are still in desktop. So let me just copy this line and then paste it in here. So you can see now we are within this Omnigen 2 folder. Now the next step, and this is optional, but this is highly recommended, is we need to use Conda to create a virtual environment. And we're going to name this Omnigen 2, and this is going to use Python 3.11. And this requires you to have Conda installed. If you don't, here's how to install it. If you already have Conda installed, feel free to skip to the next section. And actually what I'm going to do is install Mini Conda. This is a minimalist version of Anaconda. If you install the full Anaconda, it installs a lot of packages and dependencies that you might not need. This just takes up more room on your computer, and of course the installation time is a bit longer. But with Mini Conda, it's just a bare bones package, and you can always install additional packages and dependencies afterwards. So I'm on this page, and you could download the latest version of Anaconda, which is for Python 3.13, but 3.13 tends to not work very well with the latest AI models. So you should go with like 3.12 or 3.11. So instead, I'm going to click on this link, repo.anaconda.com, and here you will find a list of different installers for different operating systems and Python versions. So for example, you could go with 3.12 or 3.11. So if you want to install 3.12, here is the Windows version. So you can install this, or this one, 3.11 for Windows, also works. Alright, after downloading the exe, I'm going to open this up and it's going to launch this installer. So I'm going to click next and then agree, and then let's set this to all users. I'm going to go with the default destination folder, and then I'm going to check this as well, clear the package cache upon completion. This just gives you back some more disk space without affecting functionality. Alright, once that's completed, let's click next, and then we are finished. Now we aren't done yet, so if you open up the command prompt and you type in conda -- version, you're still going to see that Conda is not recognized. This is because we haven't added Anaconda to our path yet. So let's exit out of this, and then to add it to our path, we simply search for this function, edit the system environment variables. We're going to click on this, and then click on environment variables, and then click on the one that says path, and then click edit. And here's where you add in the path of Anaconda. So it depends where you installed Anaconda. For me, I installed it in program data. So it's going to be in program data / mini conda. And then if I double click on scripts, you can see that Conda is here. So this is the folder we want to paste in. So I'm going to right click on this and then copy as path. And then back in the environment variables window, I'm going to click new and then paste in the path here, and then click OK, and then OK, and then OK again. Now, if you open up command prompt again and type in conda -- version, you should see that we are running 24.5.0. So this shows that we have successfully installed Anaconda. Alright, so assuming you do have Conda installed, I'm going to copy this line and then paste it in my command prompt. And again, this is going to use Conda to create a new virtual environment with the name Omnigen 2. Now, the point of creating a virtual environment is think of it as like a separate hard drive, which contains all the packages and dependencies that are required for Omnigen 2. You want to install these separately so it doesn't conflict with other packages and tools on your computer. Anyways, let's press Y to proceed. So now it's proceeding to set up this virtual environment using Python 3.11. Let me tell you about these awesome AI tools called ChatLLM and DeepAgent by Abacus AI, the sponsor of this video. ChatLLM is an all-in-one platform for you to use the best AI models out there. You can seamlessly switch between different models, plus you can use the best image generators out there and the best video generators out there all in one integrated platform. Plus, if you're coding something, they have a really useful artifacts feature so that you can preview your generation side by side. And then for DeepAgent, this is a god-tier AI agent that can do really complex tasks all autonomously. For example, you can get it to create a PowerPoint filled with content, images, and charts. Or here's another example of getting DeepAgent to browse the web and find cheap flights. Or you can even get it to make a dinner reservation. or you can connect it to Google Workspace and automate your workflows, or connect it to Jira to create an interactive dashboard. There are so many things you can do with DeepAgent, and you can connect it to so many other different platforms. It's gonna supercharge your productivity. Definitely check out ChatLLM that comes with DeepAgent in the description below. Alright, if all goes well, you should see this line again with no error messages. So the next step after creating this is we need to activate our environment. So let me copy this line and then paste it in here. So if you see your environment name in parentheses at the start of the line, then it signifies that you have now activated and are within your virtual environment. So the next step is we need to install Torch and Torch Vision. Now make sure you do choose the CUDA version. Now in order to check your CUDA version, simply open another command prompt window and then type in nvcc -- version. So you should see that for me, I'm using CUDA 12.4. which is the correct one here. If you don't have 12.4 and you have another version, you can go to the official PyTorch page and then select the appropriate version here. So for example, if you're using CUDA 12.6, you would copy this URL instead. Anyway, since I do have 12.4, I'm just going to copy this line and then paste it in here. Now note that Torch is over 2 gigabytes in size, so it's going to take a while to download depending on the speed of your internet. Alright, if all goes well, you should see this line with no error messages. The next step is we need to copy and paste this line to install all the packages that are listed in this requirements.txt file. So again, I'm going to paste this line in here and then press enter. There's also a long list of dependencies here, so it's going to take a while to download everything. Alright, after installing this really long list of dependencies, if all goes well, you should see this line with no error messages. And we have successfully installed Omnigen. Now there is one last optional step, which is to install Flash Attention. You don't have to run this, but it's going to make your generations a bit faster. Now this depends on what version of CUDA you have. And here they suggested that I download it like this, but actually it's a lot faster if you download a pre-built wheel of Flash Attention. So that's what I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to link to this Hugging Face page in the description below, and this contains a ton of pre-built wheels for different versions of Flash Attention and CUDA and Torch and Python. So you'll need to kind of figure out which one works for you. In our case, since I have CUDA 12.4, plus we've just installed Torch 2.6, plus we have Python 3.11, I'm going to download this one. So here it says CUDA 12.4, Torch 2.6, and Python 3.11. So let me click download. All right, after downloading this file, I'm going to right click and then click on copy as path. And then back to our command prompt, I'm simply going to write pip install and then paste in the path of the downloaded wheel. Let's press enter. All right, perfect. Installing from a wheel is a lot faster than if you tried to install Flash Attention from scratch. Anyways, that sums up the installation. There is one last step, which is because we're going to use a graphical interface which uses Gradio, we also need to pip install Gradio. So let me also type in pip install Gradio. And if you see this line again with no error messages, then you have successfully installed Gradio. So that's it. Next, let me show you how to start this up from scratch the next day. So you just need to go to the downloaded Omnigen 2 folder and open that up. And then at the top bar here, type in cmd to open up this folder in command prompt. Now, if you used Conda to create a virtual environment, which we did, then you need to type in Conda activate and then whatever you named your virtual environment. In our case, it's Omnigen 2. And if you see this in parentheses at the start of the line, then that means you are now within your virtual environment. Now, there are actually 2 different interfaces you can launch. The first one is just for generating images. There's also a second interface called appchat.py where you can ask the AI questions about an image. So for example, if I upload this image and I ask it to please briefly describe this image, it's not going to generate an image for me. It's just going to give me a text response describing the image. So that's what this chat interface is for, but this isn't really the strength of Omnigen. I mean, there are already a ton of other open source vision models out there that can analyze images. So nothing too groundbreaking here. In this video, we're mainly going to focus on its image editing capabilities. And for that, to keep it simple, we're just going to run python app.py. So let me paste this in here. Now, when you run this for the first time, it proceeds to install some additional models which are needed to generate images. And as you can see, these are quite large in size. So again, it's going to take a while to download everything. All right, after downloading everything, it should give you a link like this. So simply hold Control and then click on this link, which would open up a Gradio interface. Let's go over all the settings. So here is where you would enter your prompt describing the image. And then here is where you can upload up to 3 reference images which you want to use. And then here is the negative prompt. So here are all the things that you want to exclude from your generation. Here's the height and the width of the final image. It's pretty self-explanatory. For now, it is limited to a maximum of 1024 by 1024. Here, the text guidance is basically how much you want your prompt up here to influence the final result. And then similarly for image guidance scale, this is how much you want the images to influence your final result. I just tend to leave everything at the default and it already works pretty well. And then down here we also have CFG range start and CFG range end. According to their documentation, if you have low VRAM and you want to speed up your generation, you can try to reduce CFG range end to significantly decrease the generation time without having much impact on the image quality. But since I do have like 16 gigabytes of VRAM, I'm just going to leave this option at the default. And then here is the scheduler. This is basically the algorithm used to generate the image. Each of them have subtle differences, so feel free to play around with each one. I'm just going to leave it at the default. And then for inference steps, this is basically like how many steps the AI should go through before generating your final image. In general, the more steps you have, the higher the quality and the more details it would have. But at a certain point, like if you set this to too high of a value, you're just going to get diminishing returns. Conversely, if you set this to too low of a value, then it's going to generate faster, but the quality might not be as detailed. So I'm just going to set this back to the default of 50 steps. Here's where you can set the number of images you want to generate at once. So that sums up how to get Omnigen 2 up and running on your computer, so you can run it for free for unlimited times. Note that this isn't the only semantic image editor out there. We also have OpenAI's GPT-4o, which can edit existing images with a prompt, and also Google's Gemini 2.0. In fact, I already did a full review video on both these tools, so see this video and this one if you haven't already. Plus, I think the most impressive one that we have right now is called Flux Context, which was recently released. You can do a lot of insane things with this while keeping the consistency and composition of the original image. You can even micro-edit things like text, and it would keep the same font and style. If you're interested in learning more, see this video. However, note that for Flux Context, this is also closed source. They have mentioned that they're going to release a distilled, lower quality version called Flux Context Dev, which is going to be open source, but they have not released this yet. So as of now, it seems like Omnigen 2 is one of the best open source semantic image editors you can use right now. Anyways, let me know in the comments what you think of this, and if you've had a chance to play around with this, what other impressive things were you able to get it to do? As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.